everybody? Welcome to the Pound for Pound show. As always, my name is Philip, and joining me are Ben and Russ. How are you gentlemen doing?
Good.
Doing fantastic,
Good.
Phil. It's good to be back.
Good to hear.
It's good to be
It
back.
is good to be back. First show of the new year. So lots and lots to get into, lots of news. Got some fights coming up this weekend and some big fights on the horizon to finally talk about. So without further ado, let's get into it. We got 2 title fights coming up on Saturday. First of all, the light heavyweight title is up for grabs in the is this an interim title fight or is it the undisputed title?
Actual.
That's what I thought. But yeah, because Yuri's going to be out until like 2029 for some reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're
For
actually
some reason.
like,
Yes, for some reason.
yeah. So, but anyway, the man who defies time, Glover Teixeira, could be a 2-time champion. That literally, my brain cannot compute that Glover is getting another title shot at his age against Jamal Hill. I'm going to throw it over to you guys. This one will start with Ben, and then we'll toss it over to Russ. Let me know what you guys expect to see and how you expect to see this one go down.
It should be an interesting stylistic matchup. Jamal's won 4 of his last 5 fights. His only loss is to Paul Craig. And then he's got it should be interesting because he's got a wide stance and he's very long. I don't expect him to be taken down because I watched his fight recently again with Thiago Santos, and he's got pretty good takedown defense. When he gets taken down, stands right back up. So I expect this fight to take place on the feet. And then he's got the speed advantage as well, I think, Jamal. It's not saying much against Glover. He's an old man at this stage. And Glover, he's won his last 6 of 7. Mm-hmm. So I think Glover's key to victory is he has to make this fight dirty. He's got to close the distance, and he's got to pressure Jamal, make him carry his weight, just grind on him. I think and take it deep into the fight. I think Glover, the deeper this fight goes, the more it favors Glover. That's just my opinion, because he's got that dog in him. He just doesn't quit. And if Jamal wants to win, he's got to use his speed and reach. And I think he should stay on the outside. And but if I had to pick who's going to win, I think experience is going to play a very large role in this fight. And I think Glover gets it done. I think he gets it done I think he'll do it via decision. What do you think, Russ?
I think Father Time is going to catch up to Glover this fight. I've picked against Glover multiple times and been very wrong. So like it could happen again. He's amazing at being the underdog in fights and winning. But I just don't see a good path to victory for him. I was thinking about it, and he could submit him. Like I thought that was like probably his best path to victory, but Jamal Hill's never been submitted. So I have to just assume that he's got great takedown and great submission defense. So I don't think that's happening. So I'm taking Jamal to win. I think he's going to hurt him early and stop him in the second. That's what I'm going with. I think just Father Time catches up to everybody. And, he's a bit of a geezer at this point. Jamal's got crazy speed and good knockout power. He's destroyed some dudes. So that's what I'm going with.
Father Time catches up to everybody. It does not catch up to Father Time himself.
Yeah, it doesn't catch up to you when you are actually Father Time.
Yeah.
I guess. No, I'm torn because again, I'm there with Russ. I feel like that Hill's best asset is how athletic he is. And he's just so much more athletic than Glover. Like we've been teasing Glover because he's obviously awesome, but he looks like he's been fighting in slow motion since like 2014. Right. And it just seems like, but again, like look how explosive and athletic Yuri is. And he was able to hang in there and literally would have won that fight if he wouldn't have got caught in that submission. So I think Glover is, he's excellent at game planning, and that, if he can turn this into his type of fight. But I just can't help but to feel like with Russ that, Hill is just too athletic and Glover's not going to be able to get his hands on him and is just going to be too much athlete at this point. So,
yeah, Glover's insanely durable. So like, he'll hurt him, he'll hurt him, but then he's got to jump on him and finish him because Glover, we've seen him recover.
Yeah.
He recovered how many times against Yuri? It was ridiculous. He's just tough as hell.
Truly unbelievable. If Glover wins, it's got to be the greatest.
Right.
Greatest what?
Yeah, it's everything.
Fighter of all time.
Everything.
Oh,
The GOAT.
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. Greatest fighter at that age.
I mean, I'll listen to an argument because I clearly don't agree with the unanimous GOAT. So
No, we
I'll
that's
hear
a
you out.
discussion. That's a discussion for another day. So
Well,
we
possibly
could get
later
into that,
today.
and that'll go. It well, we could be talking about someone who's disqualified from that conversation later today. We'll get into that.
Right.
We'll get there. We'll get there. And then the other fight, the 63rd matchup, Moreno and oh my God,
Figgy.
like literally,
Figgy.
yeah, Figgy.
Figueredo.
Yeah, that's what I could. Yeah, I kept trying to say Figueredo and I just couldn't spit it out. So, but yeah, like how could you not be excited for this fight after the first three fights? So, the first time that I can recall guys go into a fourth fight, all of them have been super fun to watch. You gotta be excited for this one. Russ, how do you see it going down?
I'm super this fight. These fights have been amazing. The first ever quadrilogy in UFC history. I mean, these dudes, we said it after the first one. They should fight just every 6 months as
Right.
long as they are in the UFC because they're so clear cut above everybody else in that division. They're unreal. I think it's razor thin. These guys are so close, but I'm leaning Figgy in this fight because it's in Brazil this time. I think he's just going to be a little bit more aggressive and violent. And it's when it's that close of a fight, I'm leaning with the home soil and Figgy on this one. And I think it's going to be a razor close 5-round decision again, but I think Figgy's going to hurt him multiple times, and Moreno would have to probably, I don't know, he'd probably have to get a sub to get him because I don't see him stopping him with strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going with. I'm going Figgy, close decision, home soil in Brazil. It's going to be an epic fight, I assume.
Yeah, I'd agree with mostly everything you said, Russ. Figgy's got the power advantage. He's fighting for his home territory. Moreno did, even though Moreno has fought more recently. Moreno fought back in July, got a big win over Kai Kara France. Figgy's been out about a year. That could come into play, but I don't think it will. I think Figgy takes this one. I think he's going to be all juice to the gills. And I'm with you, Russ. I think he's going to get I'll say knockout. I think first fight was a draw. Second fight was a submission. Third fight was a decision. Fourth fight, let's change it up. Let's go knockout. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I think both guys are going to go out there and try to put a definitive stamp on this fight and, get a clear-cut finish to kind of put their stamp on that they've won this rivalry and they can both move on. If that will happen or not, I don't know, but I think it's going to leave both guys open. Both take some chances. It'll probably be a feeling out early and then they're just going to let it go. And I just think that favors Figgy. I think he's just been so destructive when he gets in those type of fights that if you get it turned into a firefight, I don't see how anyone at that size can withstand the damage that Figgy hands out for 5 rounds. So I think it's just going to add up at some point. And, that's how I see Figgy getting him out of there at some point, probably in the third or fourth, I think, after an accumulation of just a lot of big shots.
I'm rooting for Moreno. I will say that. I'm rooting for Moreno. I just can't go against a Brazilian in Brazil. It's too tough for me. It's one of those things.
Hey, you picked Jamal.
Oh, true. Contradicting myself right there. I did pick Jamal, so I guess I can go against a geezer in Brazil.
How dare you?
No disrespect, but he is.
We always talk smack about Glover, and then he puts on a fight of the year candidate, and we're like, oh, this guy's the man. He's the man.
Well, we do, but we always acknowledge that he's the man. And
it's absolutely no disrespect. I love Glover. It's just,
no, he is,
yeah.
Speaking of old and speaking of Brazil, it's not a title fight, but it looks Shogun's retirement fight going down in Brazil. We've been longtime fans. We've been watching since he was a young up and comer, which is seemingly 20 years ago. It feels like, we watched his entire career. It's hard to not be excited for this fight. So, I know it's not the same guy that we saw back early in his career, but how do you guys see that fight going down?
Russ?
I'm not real familiar with the guy he's fighting. I've looked up his record to see if they gave him some young up and coming killer. And it looked like he only had one UFC fight, but he was 18-3 and has a lot of stoppages. So he's obviously got some skills, but I also don't think he's like, they didn't put him against, some destroyer. So he could win this fight definitely. And win or lose, it's going to be, just super sad to see him go. He was one of the first people that I really loved as a fighter. And like, it's, end of an era. It's going to be really, sad to see him go.
Yeah.
Makes me feel old as dirt,
Yeah. It's understandable.
Yeah.
No, it is an end of an era. It's the end of the Pride era. He's the last of the Pride fighters to go. Apparently, this is his official retirement fight. And like you said, Russ, it's one of the first fighters you loved. It's one of the first fighters I loved, Phil loved, and he was just he was one of the OG Pride guys, the shoot box guys with Vanderlei Silva, killing people out there, giving soccer kicks, head kicks, all that, just wrecking people in Pride. And he was the champ. He won multiple titles. He got the UFC title. He's just a legend of the sport, and it's going to be sad. I really hope he goes out on a win, but it rarely happens in this sport. So we'll see. What do you think, Phil?
To Russ's point, I'm not familiar with the guy. I know he's got a good record, but I feel like maybe they set this up to, they could carry him out of the arena in celebration after a big win. I think that's what everybody wants to see. No one wants to see him lose. I think it'd be a great way to start this. I think it's going to be the first fight of the show, of the main card. So it should be, hopefully, like, again, yeah, it'll be, I think they're going to get him out. I think they set him up for success in this one. So I think he's going to get a win, and, it's going to be a big celebration to kick off the night. So
hope you're right.
I really hope so.
Maybe
that might propel Glover to victory if,
it's possible.
Shogun kicks it off of the win.
Oh man, it might.
It is possible. It is possible.
Could be that momentum going for Brazil. They just sweep the card like they've been known to do in Brazil.
They do. It does seem like in Brazil they have an extremely high winning percentage. This is not a lie. Cool. Well, we've got some news. We'll get into that, unless there was anything you guys wanted to cover from this pay-per-view.
No. So a few other good fights,
really.
but nothing.
Yeah, Gilbert Burns and Magny is going to be a good fight.
That's
I think Gilbert
fight.
Burns,
Yeah, and Andrade is going to commit homicide, I think. So that'll be something to see.
Well, that is that's going to be a long night for Lauren Murphy. I have thoughts on that in the best.
I think it's going to be a very short night, actually.
Okay, I disagree. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So I think it's just going to get ugly quickly. So we'll see. So, but I think the big news everybody's talking about these days is, and we'll kind of combine the two stories because they're all together. The state of the heavyweight division. We've got the return of John Jones after 3 years. It's, at what everyone's been waiting for. What's he going to look like at heavyweight? But probably not the fight everybody thought it was going to be. It was building up to the showdown with Francis, and apparently Francis is out of a job. So, you get conflicting reports that, they offered to make him the highest paid heavyweight in history, and he still turned it down. But it seems like it's been a long time coming, because it seemed like there's just the UFC and Francis have been unhappy with each other for so long. I don't know that there was a happy ending, regardless of what they came up with. So, but I get your guys' thoughts. What do you think? I'll throw it to you first, Russ, and then over to Ben to get your thoughts on the whole thing. The fight, Francis, what you guys expect to see from John when he comes back.
Well, I think the UFC blew it on Francis, first of all, big time. Like you have to negotiate and figure out a way to get that deal done. He's the baddest man on the planet right now. Like, you cannot let your heavyweight champion walk away. That's insane, especially when, it's $1 billion company owned by Disney at this point. Pay him, whatever, But from what I understand, he really was dead set on going to boxing. He wants to get like a boxing payday, either Fury or Wilder, I'm thinking, is what he's going to try to make happen. And in that case, I think UFC should have just worked with him like they did with Conor. Like, you can work with him like that and then bring him right back. And so what I'm hoping he does is just goes and gets that big payday and comes right back. But you don't know if he goes and makes like 20 million, if he's even going to come back and be interested.
Right.
Or if he's, got a bad taste in his mouth because UFC just would not bend the knee. So, and then my thoughts on Jones, Gane is I will not get excited for that fight until they're in the octagon. What Jones is gonna go to Vegas for like what, a week or whatever, and do embedded and like show up to the fight, and USADA's not gonna happen. He's not gonna do something dumb. It's just there's no way. That dude is too much of a loose cannon. Get him out of here. I don't even want to see him in there. I do not like that guy, and I do not believe he's fighting again.
Oh wow! You don't think so? You're saying you don't think that fight will happen?
He came there for the Hall of Fame celebration and was there for what, like 6 hours, and got arrested. Like that dude is an idiot.
Yeah.
It's so confusing to me because he's got the highest fight IQ probably we've ever seen, and then the lowest IQ outside of the octagon that we've ever seen. Like, it's just, how can you be that smart of a fighter and that dumb in every other aspect? It's just crazy.
It is nuts. It is nuts
because he's so smart when he's in there in the octagon. He just doesn't,
he's cerebral.
Make big mistakes. He knows how to use every advantage he has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's cerebral, but then outside, just an absolute maniac.
Yep. Yeah. Like you
I
said,
don't think the fight's happening, but
yeah.
The line opened as a pick 'em as well. If you guys want to discuss, betting your house on John Jones, if that fight were to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he makes it,
I mean,
I wonder, is there separate action? Is there like a prop bet? Like, will the fight happen? Yes or no?
Oh, like, if there was, God, I'd be betting everything on that. Like,
Right. No,
if you could do like separate props, like what will John Jones do to screw this fight up? Be like,
yeah. Domestic violence, car accident, drugs. Which one? What do you pick? Yeah. Which one are you gonna pick?
USADA violation.
Something new? Yeah.
Do some cocaine and beat up some strippers in Vegas.
Is it gonna be weapons this time? What is it? But like you said, Russ, that's crazy that they couldn't get the deal done with Francis, man. That's simply embarrassing. I'm not even that big of a Francis fan personally, but that is embarrassing that you let your heavyweight champion walk. That is crazy to me. Like, how does that make sense other than, I guess, just money? I mean, how does that make sense? Like, explaining that to someone that can't comprehend, I guess, money. Like, you know what I mean? That's
nothing
ridiculous.
About it makes sense. Like,
no.
He's never had a violation. He seems like, pretty good dude by all means. Like, I've never heard of him doing anything outside the octagon that makes him look like a bad character. He has one of the most amazing backstories you could market, like, just making it to the UFC.
Yeah.
And they decide to pay John Jones. Like,
crazy, man.
It's just, yeah.
Crazy. But honestly, that Jones-Gane fight, it's an interesting stylistic matchup on paper. You got two super smart, technical fighters, but that also could lead to a very boring fight. We've seen that in the past. A fight that looks great on paper be very boring. So it's tough to say in that fight, but I'm excited, and we'll see where it goes.
I don't see how
if it happens.
If Francis was able to take Gane down and hold him down, how it is even a question what John Jones is going to do.
That's what people are saying.
Like.
But I honestly think I'm a big Gane fan, but how can you not think he's not working on his takedown defense? He's 100%. He's been working on his takedown defense.
I just don't think a year of working on it is going to matter. John Jones is so slick with it. Like, how would he not just take him down?
One of his biggest weapons, though, John Jones, was his size advantage in the light heavyweight division. He won't have that size advantage anymore. These are the big boys.
You've seen him?
He's huge, but Gane's enormous as well. These are the big boys. You got to think about that. And
I do.
Gane's a very smart fighter, and plus, Ngannou had the element of surprise with his takedowns. Gane did not see that coming. With Jones, I think he's probably got an idea that Jones might wrestle him, might take him down. So
it'll be a surprise because once his eyes are poked out, he's not going to see the takedowns coming.
Right. No, it is an interesting.
He's blinded from the inevitable eye pokes and his knees are jacked up from kicks directly to the front of the knee.
Yeah,
takedowns will come easy.
What do you got to say on this, Phil?
I think the X factor is what's John Jones going to look like after 3 years and 60 pounds heavier, or whatever size he comes in at. I'm a big believer in Gane. I think he's an excellent fighter. But if we get John Jones at 95% of what he was, but this big, Gane is in a whole world of trouble because John Jones is just an entirely different animal. He's, like you said, it seems like he could win this fight anywhere he wants, quite honestly. If he wants to just like make it a tactical fight, if he wants to take it to the ground, like I don't, regardless of what your thoughts on John Jones are, like his skill level is just so far above, especially at the heavyweight division. He's just so skilled. It's, the X factor will be like, to your point, is he that strong at that weight class? Is he still going to have the same speed with all this extra weight he's put on? So I think that's the biggest X factor, is to see what we get out of John Jones. Like you said, if he makes it there, but if he's all coked up and he's almost as fast, I think Gane's out of his league.
Well, also what you're saying, Phil, he's been out 3 years. You're right, and he's also changed camps. There's that. He went from one of the best camps in the world to now some no-name camp, I think. Also, he's had the drama. He's had all the drama. Yeah. He's had the weight. He's changing weight classes, and then also he was arguably on the decline in his last fight against, I believe it was Reyes. He was on the decline then. Now it's 3 years later. So there are just so many variables. There's just so many variables that we don't unknowns.
I think that's the X factor, is what John Jones are you going to get? If we get the best John Jones, he's probably unbeatable. Mm-hmm. But will, again, and he's not, 26 anymore. He's in his mid 30s now. He's going to start slowing down. We'll have to see. So
we'll see.
That's kind of anything else you guys wanted to add to that?
No, that's it. That's really all
happening.
That's all I want to say on that.
Cool. And then I know the one other thing, Ben, that you had in the notes, and I don't know how much you guys want to get into this or what you guys have to say about it, is obviously the news of the boss of UFC might have got himself in a little bit of trouble in the media. So do you guys have any thoughts on that? Any impact, thoughts, coverage? What do you guys think? Ben, you can start.
Yeah, honestly, I think he should have, like, I don't know, like, done more to, I guess, punish himself, because it seems like it's all in his hands, like, I mean, that shouldn't be how it works, but he's saying, what do you want me to do? You want me to go away for a month or 60 days? He said in the past, you don't come back from this. He's always been so against it. And then when he does it, it's just kind of just brushed under the rug. I mean, of course, he's in the media talking about it and stuff, but like, it's just strange. It's just a strange situation. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, I mean, my feelings on this kind of thing. I hate it. It's unforgivable, but at the same time, I understand, how it's been treated by everybody, because he's the face of the UFC. Like, no matter what fighter gets popular, Dana White and Joe Rogan are the faces of the UFC. They're the ones that, like, everybody associates with that company. So once those two are gone, I don't know that it's even like a $1 billion company anymore. So they're going to do everything to keep those two around. I just, it's such a bad look for everybody, but I understand how it was covered and how, like, there was no penalty because there's just too much money involved.
That's so crazy. If you got money,
this is not like it's not like a football player or an actual fighter on the organization. It's the dude that runs the whole thing. So I don't know what could be done about it. Yeah.
Just crazy.
I guess, my thoughts on it are, like, obviously it's to Russ's point, if any one of us would have done it, we would have probably been in jail for it. He did it, but he's probably a billionaire at this point. So, he can do those same things, but it just seems to me that, the UFC, him and UFC would have at least had the foresight to, like, he could have, like, donated a shitload of money to, like, anti-violence against women charities, and they could have released something. The UFC and Dana White could have released, like, a statement and at least made it look like they gave a shit. Like, they just made it sound like whatever.
Basically.
Yeah, I didn't, like, also, like, oh, we were drinking because it was New Year's Eve. Like, I don't care. That's not an excuse. Like, be an adult. Don't be out drinking when you're like 50 years old. on New
Yeah.
Year's Eve, like, and
Right.
you're the head of a company. Like you're not 20 years old. That I did not like as like a reason. That's ridiculous. Like, yeah, I could be, I don't drink, but even if I was hammered, it wouldn't change my, feelings on that. Like I wouldn't like
Yeah.
ever do that.
Yeah.
Regardless, that's not an excuse.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
When you got money, you
Agreed.
can just get away with stuff.
It does seem that way sometimes, no, doesn't it? So, but speaking of money, what a great transition. Russ, why don't you tell the people how they can make some money this weekend?
Okay, we got some good ones here. I'm going with, in the main event, Jamal Hill by KO TKO plus 110. I think he wins, and I think he gets the finish. I just think he's too young and too fast for Glover. I've lost money plenty of times going against Glover, so it could happen again. But I think Jamal is going to be the light heavyweight champion, despite being probably the third or fourth best light heavyweight.
That is brutal. Jamal Hill champion.
We all know who the real champ is.
Hey, at least he's from Grand Rapids, so like we'll have a Michigan champ.
There's that.
Okay, and then secondly, I'm going Andrade versus Lauren Murphy over 2.5 rounds minus 130. I've seen Lauren Murphy take beatings and survive. Like she's so hard to put out. So if there was like a side prop bet for like how like much of a mutant Lauren Murphy's going to look like after this fight, I'd throw extra action on there. She's going to get her brains beat in, but she survives. She's good at it. I mean, I think it's going over 2.5 minus 130. And then I'm taking Figgy Moreno over 4.5 rounds minus 150. These dudes just are so closely matched. I don't see a stoppage. I think they're just.
That was close. Ben. I thought I was going to say, wait, didn't you pick Figgy to stop by KO earlier? But I think that was Ben.
No, I picked Figgy to win by a close decision. But yeah, it's over 4.5 rounds. I think they're just too close. I don't think they have the ability unless there's some crazy stunning shot slipped into submission like Moreno did the second time. But that was, I don't want to say fluky, but that doesn't happen 90% of the time.
Anything else you guys want to get into?
I think that's it for now. Like, place your bets on that Jones-Gane fight not happening. I would almost guarantee it.
Right.
Probably a good decision.
Do not buy tickets to go to that fight because there will be a substitute main event.
Oh, it's in Vegas. You'd still be in Vegas, so it's not the worst decision you'd ever make.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, also, I wanted to let the people know the Poundies are coming up real soon. We didn't do the Poundies for 2022, and they're coming up very soon. That's our year-end awards. It's like the Grammys, Emmys. You get it.
Yeah.
Except for it's better than all those award shows.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's it, buddies. We'll let everybody go. We'll see everyone soon. Enjoy the fights on Saturday, and we'll see you guys with some awards very soon. Have a good one, everybody.